Good evening. My name is Callidora Lambros, and I am the daughter of Medusa. Today, we'll be talking all about me. I hope everybody's looking forward to this stream because, truth be told, I have absolutely zero things planned. So that's fun. It's always fun. Hi, Lady Verity. Very glad to see you. So, I figure I would just go over some of my backstory, tell you about myself a little bit, and then if we have some time left over, which seems likely, then I will start working on the official OneWomanCorpo Minecraft server. That's fun, right? So, as I said, my name is Callidora Lambros, and I am the daughter of Medusa. My father, for those of you who don't know, is the ancient Greek hero Caeneus. Now, a lot of people aren't familiar with the myth of Caeneus, especially not as many as are familiar with my mother. Caeneus was... Let me start at the beginning. So, there is a city that exists on the coast of Greece. And this city was ruled by the king of the Lapiths. All who lived there were considered to be Lapiths. Hello there, bunny sharks. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. In this city of Lapiths, there was a beautiful, beautiful young woman. Her hair shone like the sea shimmering... I'm sorry, English is not my first language, and I'm rather nervous. Anyway, her hair shone like the sun shimmering off the sea. Her eyes held so much depth and emotion. People would often come to, well, frankly, to propose to her from miles around, from the other side of Greece, in a few specific instances. However, she was not interested in them. She simply didn't care for their company. It was possible she preferred the company of women, but that would be merely speculation on my part. For whatever reason, she never accepted any of her suitors' requests. And we're lagging quite a bit. So, one day, as happens, she caught the eye of the god of the sea, Poseidon. And for those of you who are familiar with my mother's tale, Poseidon does not take no for an answer. He had her way with this young woman named Caeneus. She was distraught, absolutely inconsolable, and for whatever reason, call it regret, call it impressive. I don't want to say that my father was impressive in the sack, but whatever the reason may be, Poseidon decided to grant this woman, Caeneus, a wish, anything her heart desired. And so Caeneus, absolutely distraught, wished to change herself, be somebody who could never be taken advantage of ever again. Caeneus asked the god Poseidon if she could be a man. And so Poseidon did as requested. Caeneus became Caeneus. And just as a little bonus, Poseidon went ahead and made Caeneus thoroughly impenetrable, be it by sword or spear or flesh. Caeneus's skin could not be penetrated, no matter what. And so, as you might imagine, that's quite a useful ability to have, especially in the heroing business. So, Caeneus became a hero. He explored Greece for a while, participating in this, that, the other thing. He helped Atalanta hunt the Caledonian boar. He fought quite a few centaurs until one day, the king of Lapiths was being married. And this king was an old, sentimental fool, so he decided to invite his entire country. Obviously, this included the great hero Caeneus, but unfortunately it also included Lapith's half-brothers, the centaurs. Now they showed up, and the thing about centaurs is they rarely know how to handle their booze, and this was no exception. They got rowdy, they got disorderly, they continued pushing until they decided, well, it had worked for Poseidon, perhaps it could work for them. They rounded up the wedding party, including the bride, and attempted to kidnap them. Of course, the men fought back, Caeneus included, and Caeneus especially worked incredibly hard. He slayed half a dozen centaurs before they even knew what was happening. He merely laughed as their swords bounced off of his impenetrable skin. And yet, some of these centaurs were a bit craftier than the others. Minucius decided if they couldn't kill the hero, they would simply prevent him from responding in kind. They tore a great tree from the ground and hammered it time after time into the hero's head, not hurting him because, again, he was impenetrable, but driving him deeper and deeper into the ground until he was up to his neck. Then, with one final swing, the centaurs buried the hero. Now, if you believe modern-day books, that is where the hero's story ends, but if a sword to the breast could not kill this man, why would a few feet of dirt? He eventually managed to free himself from his burial mound, and it was too late. The wedding had finished. The rest of the guests had managed to turn off the centaurs, but evidently none of them had seen the centaur who had pounded my father into the ground. So he resolved to get his revenge. Nobody was going to make him feel powerless, not again, not after what had happened. And so he began to scour the ancient globe, searching for some hint of this centaur. It was on these travels that he met my mother. The two got to talking and, well, my father left before I was born, but not, obviously, before my mother was with child. He left me only one thing to remember him by: his sword, a Xephos that I keep on my hip at all times. Now, as I was growing up, Mother never taught me how to use it. She always insisted that Father would return after he'd sought his vengeance and teach me how to be a proper swordswoman. After all, those who did not live by the sword could still die by it, they both knew. However, my father never returned. I took to training myself in secret behind my mother's back, and I like to think I'm quite proficient at this point. Once Mother passed, I left the island. I still have no idea if he ever returned to our little home, our little cave away from the world. All I know is I have never met him. I once sought the oracle at Delphi to receive a prophecy on how I might get a chance to meet with my father. It was quite the adventure, but that's a story for another time. Specifically, it's a story that's going to be animated. It's going to be a very long, I'm looking at around 40 minutes, animatic, fully voiced by yours truly, and of course the most important people in my life. Bunny Sharks will indeed be in it, as I did meet her during this adventure, and well, once I looked her back up, we've been inseparable since. Bunny Sharks is somebody who was incredibly important to me. Then, of course, I eventually met Miss Harper, and with her, the rest of my internet friends. So, I love you guys immensely. Error, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Well, that's upsetting. We are dropping some frames. We're up to 13% dropped frames. Okay. So it's not a Twitch emote. Or it's not, rather, a Twitch exclusive problem. Let's try something else. I wasn't even aware I had Minecraft booted up, but here we are. Let's go ahead and close that. With any luck, the dropped frames will be getting better now, but they don't seem to be. So it's not a nope, there they are, all better. So I do believe it is a Streamlabs thing. Let's go ahead and get my backing behind me. Let's see here, assets, overlay, chatting. There we are, no harm, no foul. So we have returned, let's see. All right, so as I've previously mentioned, although some of you might not have been here for it, I haven't anything planned for this. I thought I would just tell you about what kind of person I am. And we will open it to questions later and eventually switch to Minecraft. But if anybody has any questions, please start thinking of them. So, I am very calm, collected, cool, under pressure, and I don't like swearing. I will say some of the terms I use can be a little outdated, but I am trying my best to learn all of the modern slang. For a very long time, I locked myself away in a cave, for centuries, in fact, because humans feared me, and to a lesser extent, I feared them. They had killed my mother, why not me? So I've decided to start streaming in hopes of meeting some people. I've been so very lonely. So very lonely. So please do correct me if I use some slang incorrectly or if I say something incorrect. For example, darling hatchlings, these are my thongs. However, I was practicing this earlier and I was told that I'm not permitted to call these thongs anymore. But what else do you call them? They're thongs, clearly. What else would you call them if not thongs? So I am still trying to piece things together, even though it is very, very confusing. Calm and collected. Listen. Lady Verity knows me quite well. She knows how to push my buttons. She knows how to annoy me. She knows how to upset me sometimes. She loves me, of course, and I love her, but she's simply that kind of person. Ugh. I am streaming Minecraft later. I do hope she doesn't decide to spawn anything. Cough, cough, Lady Verity. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it will be fine. YouTube is not receiving enough. Okay, but OBS is still in the green. Huh. Well, it's not on my end. It's over on YouTube's. Not my problem. Okay. Aside from that, I would say my likes are, well, let's not worry about my likes. Let's be more specific. So, I've always been scared of being called a monster by those who see the snakes and flee. I suppose I understand where they're coming from, but it truly does hurt me when people say that. So, I've decided to live my life the way I think everybody should. I am trying to be a true hero. If I ever see somebody in need or somebody hurting, I do everything I can to assist this person because I've always sort of admired the great heroes of old. Obviously not Perseus, but there are, of course, other great Greek heroes, such as, well, Heracles. My mother told me stories of Heracles when I was much, much younger, and they captivated me. Heracles fought and fought and fought, a man of insurmountable strength, of mercy, of kindness. Hera may have cursed him, but his heart remained unsullied, in my opinion. He absolutely deserves his spot on Mount Olympus. I never got the opportunity to meet with Heracles, but, well, Cadence made me aware of a more modern term called a waifu, subgenre husbando. That is to say, one character, usually fictional, but in this case not, who you love more than anything else in the whole wide world. Obviously, for Lady Verity, that is me, but for me, I suppose my husbando would be Heracles. I've always wanted to meet him and to bear his children. Alas, if Miss Harper has a xenomorph shrine, what's wrong with me having some pottery depicting his journeys? I did actually custom commission a kylix before the old ways died out, but I fear the man mistook me for someone else, as he instead delivered to me a cantharos, which I prefer, to be honest. The front of the cantharos depicts my father slaying centaurs in the way he chose to do most commonly, which was, not to put too fine a point on it, and pardon my language, stab them in the penis. The reverse features my mother slaying Perseus, as it should have been. For those of you who don't know the difference, a kylix is essentially a dish on a stem. And in comparison, a cantharos is essentially a bowl on a stem. The reason kylixes were used was for symposia, when you drink, but you do not lose yourself to Dionysus's revelry. If you can't hold your wine, you merely sip at it. The cantharos is a much, much deeper cup, typically only used by Dionysus and his followers, the Maenads. However, to be honest, dealing with my loneliness, dealing with humanity as a whole has been difficult for me, so I quite often find myself drinking heavily from my kylix, or from my cantharos, apologies. We were just talking about kylix. And, well, when I first began streaming, I used to drink a full cantharos full of wine before each stream and have another one to sip on the entire time. It is something that got expensive, and I do still drink at least one bottle of wine a day, but surely a singular bottle is nothing. It's nothing. It's fine. It's fine. I'm absolutely going to make Lady Verity drink it out of it during the off collab. That sounds like a wonderful idea. Wonderful idea. And actually, when I reconnected with Miss Bunny Sharks, she actually purchased something for me that I thought was pretty great. She purchased for me a kylix with Tupac Shakur's image in the center. I have absolutely no idea why. It was just his face. Red, bare bones. Beyond that, I'm not picky. Red. Beyond that, I do not care. Although I do like drier wines, I will say. Not as sweet either. It was a kylix with Tupac Shakur on it. However, it was destroyed during the move. There is no more Tupac's kylix. And for that, I will never forgive myself. I truly did rob the world of something fantastic. Miss Sharks, you have my sincere apologies about your Tupac Kylix. I would have enjoyed it so very much. Wine is quite good. Wine is quite good. I do hear some people make their own, and I have wanted to look into that. I simply haven't, as I've never had a vineyard to myself. But one of my friends is quite rich. She eats roast pheasant. She makes her own wine, so clearly she has a vineyard. Clearly she is a woman of unimaginable wealth, so I may lean on her a bit to try and make my own wine. I think that could be fun. Perhaps I'll even do it on stream, although I'm not sure the process is something that would be good for streaming. Frankly, I don't know. I'm not certain either way. Anyway. Can I help you, Lady Verity? It does bother me that chat can't show up beside me, but I don't think it's worth moving chat over, especially because I would need to use Streamlabs, which evidently leads to crashing, even though it's just a browser source, so I'm not quite sure how that works. It's not actually integrated with OBS, it's just a Streamlabs browser source, so I'm not too sure. Beyond that, I was actually, if I can be perhaps a bit nerdy now, I will admit I am quite a bit on the nerdier side of things, because for a very long time there was naught to do but stay in my cave alone, so I had to find diversions that didn't rely on other people. Things like fantasy novels or models. Once the computer came out, that was a big day for me. I spent so very much time on the computer. I've seen things that I truly wish I could forget. But the computer has also allowed me to connect with people. I love my pewter. All of my friends live there. But again, if I can be a little bit on the nerdy side, well, I am thinking about doing a stream wherein I build a custom model of one of these cities from my high fantasy world, specifically the town of Circe, which is of course named after Circe, although it might not have been the best idea. She did hit on me quite aggressively when I met her. Again, a story for another time. It would honestly not surprise me to hear that the stories of the biblical succubus originate from an encounter with Circe. She's quite something. She is quite something. In terms of other names that you might recognize, who else did I meet? Asterius. Ah, yes, I'm sure you would recognize Asterius. Asterius, for those of you who don't know, is the name of the Minotaur. King Minos's, well, it's not really his son. King Minos's wife's son. His wife, of course, went by the name Pasiphae. That was before my time. Be a little like a Christmas cake. Circe is quite old, but she does not look it, bare bones Bran. You will see her in the animatic. She's quite something. But yes, I met with Asterius, and frankly, not a day goes by where I don't think about our meeting. What could have been, alas. Again, I'm sorry, this is a story for another time. There's so much I want to share with you, but I want to do it properly. I do consider myself to be a storyteller, first and foremost. So, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it properly. And all will be well. All right? Thank you guys for being understanding. Now, it has been precisely 30 minutes. Does anybody have any questions they would care to ask me? Anything at all? Oh, I suppose I should open the Q&A, shouldn't I? That didn't, oh, there we are. Q&A. Does anybody have any specific questions that they would like to ask me? Your silence speaks volumes, chat. Oh, that would be because YouTube's not receiving any data. Well, that does tend to put a damper on things. All right, let's... What on earth is the problem? Now stream is healthy, now stream is poor. Apologies, I really don't know what the issue is here. This time it's OBS. This time it's OBS. So what we're going to be doing is switching to the dual PC setup. That is to say, I will be using Miss Bunny Shark's laptop later. Not for this stream, because I would need to end stream and restream, which doesn't work on YouTube. But, you know, eventually. Eventually. Favorite food from the Greeks. Ah, my favorite food in general, Bare Bones Bran, is a gyro. So with some nice lamb, extra sauce. Yeah. I adore gyros. If you eat too much, it will upset your stomach, but that's true of just about anything worth eating. From jalapeno peppers to habanero peppers. I quite like spicy food. We ate a lot of it back in the day. Back in the day, if you prefer. I quite like spicy food. If I had to pick a favorite dessert, not that I like desserts or anything, I definitely do not have a sweet tooth. I am calm and collected and mature. I would certainly not stuff my face with candy or sweets behind anyone's back. No, that doesn't sound like me. That simply does not sound like me. But if I had to pick a favorite sweet, I guess it would be cheesecake. 100% cheesecake. I adore cheesecake. They served it to Heracles at the first Olympic Games. Again, I was not in attendance, but it is true. It is true. Cheesecake is wonderful. I'm quite upset with the amount of buffering we've got going on. This is not going as well as I'd hoped. We're at 19% dropping. Or I'm sorry, 19% dropped frames and rising. Not 19% dropping. Well, I guess technically 19%. I'm sorry, English is not my first language again. I do speak Greek. What kind of cheesecake? You're really going to make me pick, Lady Verity? I am fond of strawberries. But the thing about a good cheesecake is flavors tend to take away from it if the cheesecake itself is flavored. The way to do it, rather than flavor the cheesecake filling directly, is you layer things on top and or around and or inside the cheesecake. For example, chunks of chocolate or fudge. You do not flavor the batter directly, otherwise it sort of loses the cheesecakiness of the cheesecake. So for me, I would have to say my all-time favorite cheesecake flavor is just regular. But if I go somewhere, I will almost invariably try a different flavor. I am hopeful. I am hopeful that someday I will find something that tops the very best original cheesecake I've ever had. Someday, perhaps. Someday. I did actually, while I was at Colossal Con East, I should have made a point of going up to New York, home of the famous New York cheesecake. Not that I like sweets or anything, sorry. I don't know the Verity, cheese flavored cheesecake. Oh, that's rough, Bare Bones brand. But vegetables are bad. Vegetables are low quality. I am sorry you had to go through that. I very much prefer high quality meats. Ingestion errors can cause incorrect group of pictures sizes. What on earth does that even mean, YouTube? Please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less? What? What? What does that mean, dude? What does that mean? Should we just call the stream, chat? This is kind of not going super well. Yeah, I'm going to cancel the stream, and in exchange, I am Inspector Snake. I am. In exchange, we will be doing one additional YouTube stream on this channel at some point this week, likely after a Twitch stream, but we'll have to see. This was rough. I don't know why OBS is doing this to me. I don't know why OBS is doing this to me. I'm at 22% dropped frames. That's a fifth of the stream is dropped frames, chat. Oh, and Streamlabs itself just crashed. So our dropped frames are going to ramp up. But as I said,